committed, they should go for it. But I actually think that their bullpen is deep and good, and I think that they can help this year's team and maybe recoup some prospects. I think they could trade Hader and not really get much worse this year. I think Suarez could close. I think their bullpen is deep. I think the marketplace is dying for somebody like Hader. I think they could accomplish a couple. I don't think they're going to do that.
You lose your kill shot, though. I mean, I know what you're saying. He's not a ton of innings. Also, the bullpen, for all of its good run prevention, is still sketchy. I've seen them fail here and there. You move Suarez.
Everyone's bullpen fails here.
No, true, but theirs, it seems to kill them. And if you move up Suarez, who is quite good, into the ninth inning, now guys are pulled in, and you know how that works. Then guys are exposed. They're over, and you lose. The Snell-Hader thing gives you that certainty that makes them at least in contention.
Yeah, by the way, I think I agree with you. I think that they'll probably just try to add today. I think there are, I would use, you know how we term twitchy athletes? I think there's twitchy GMs, like right. Jerry DiPoto and Dave Dombrowski and AJ
Habitual over-tinkerers.
They're just not going to, if everyone else is playing, they're not going to just sit and watch everybody play.
Right. I think pot committed is a good term. It's too late to stop now because they went all in. It's very different.
Though the Mets stopped.
Well, the Mets and the Yankees both are old and kind of rusted out. The Padres are still young and springy. So it's like if this team isn't winning, you can tinker. I don't think you can possibly trade, to declare the Juan Soto era a failure. It's too early to do that. Politically, you just can't do that.
Yeah, especially since their attendance has been great.
Yes.
Their ratings on TV have been great.
Soto's been quite good. It's not like he's failing.
So I've said this on the air yesterday. I'll share the story with you also. So I talked to somebody who recently played the Padres at a time where we didn't know what they would do, buy or sell. And I said to him, what do you think they're going to do, buy or sell? And he said, I don't think they're going to sell. And I said, well, if they buy, what would they buy? And he said, I don't know. I look out on the field when we played them, and I don't know where they buy. They have really good players everywhere.
You know what? They need pop at first base. I think probably part of their problem is they've moved everybody around. Kim could be playing shortstop. They got greedy getting Bogarts. So now Kim goes to second base. Tatis has to go to right, and you have a guy whose bat doesn't play at first base. Cronenworth, his bat plays at second base when he's good, but he's not good, so his bat really doesn't play at first base. So they should trade for Paul Goldschmidt.
Well, that would make today interesting. I wish you were the czar of baseball, and I get one of those. Oh, wow!
It just happened. All right. What do the Yankees do? Where are they?
So I think they're in that combination of buy-sell. I think that the last few days have reminded them that it's tough. I will say this. They've played 106 games, BK. The last time they had a worse record than they have right now was 2016.
No, I heard you say that because I watch you on all these shows now. Yeah, but they didn't have as many playoff spots back then. That's my first thought. There's more playoff spots now.
They didn't. But, if we're sitting here and we know who they're trying to barge ahead of, are they better than those teams? Can they make themselves better than those teams?
If Bo Bichette is hurt, yes. If Bo Bichette isn't hurt, I don't think they can pass.
They're kind of flat-footed with the Angels now. They're a better team than the Angels the rest of the way.
You're kind of close with the flat-footed Angels.
You know what I mean?
It's like a little flat-footed.
Look, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of today they traded a couple of pieces and ended up with someone like Dylan Carlson who helps them beyond this season. It seems to me he's a switch hitter. It seems that they've liked him over the years, that he could probably defend in left field at Yankee Stadium. I feel like they're going to try to go both ways because I don't think they have the stomach to just bail on this season.
Right.
But I think they have the reality of they watch the team play every day and they know it's not healthy enough to do a lot of stuff with prospects.
They lost sadly yesterday. I watched that game. It was sad. It was quiet.
The amount of games this year, the number of games this year where it felt like there was just no fight in the dog is stunning if you know what the Yankees have been over the last 30 years.
Right.
It's just no fight in the dog.
You know where you're right? And this is a good lead-in. You know where you're right, Joel?
You're so many places.
He's dead, right? So,
let me look in the counter again.
It's hard to keep track. The Giancarlo Stanton trade is like the signature move of these Yankees these last few years. It's landlocked them. It's handcuffed them. The opportunity cost has been huge. He's delivered 9 WAR. He's a one-dimensional player. He's mercurial in his performance. Even when he does play, he's injured often. And just, again, it's never the money, but you can still, even if you're the Yankees, you can only have so many aircraft carriers. He was one of them. Kept him out of Harper, kept him out of Machado. I don't know if it precludes them from Ohtani. It's kept them out of a lot of sweepstakes.
kept them out of a lot of sweepstakes, kept them overly right-handed, kept them non-athletic too often. He's often, you can't replace him completely, but he often misses a lot of time during the season with injuries, so you always have to have, like, the guy who's suddenly going to be there for him. I just think if you're looking for that moment when Ohtani tells them no after the 2000, they've just gone to Game 7 of the ALCS, and Ohtani tells them no at a time where they thought, we're the Yankees, of course he's going to come to us.
Right.
They pivoted hard, and they ended up with Stanton. They actually I think they thought they stole him from Miami.
Yeah.
I think that it just, to all your points, it just landlocked them.
Yeah, it's disastrous in so many ways, and yet he hits a bomb, and people, Brian Kenny, what are you talking about? Look at how far that ball went.
Yeah,
but look at what he's hitting.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it's not completely, like Stanton is who Stanton is. And the other thing is,
he's been a different guy since in Miami. He had like a 160 OPS plus. It hit 140, and now it's like a 125. This year it's 90 something. Yeah. No, he's not the same guy.
He's not.
Even if he was great, it really wouldn't be as much of an issue. He's also a DH. He locks that spot up. So many reasons. Nobody
wants to hear. At a time when Judge probably should be DHing more if his toes really bothering him, and then you have to put Stanton in the outfield. Can Stanton stay healthy in the outfield? Look, I think it's. You could start from that moment in the 2017-18 offseason to where we are today, and I think it's the domino that begins to knock everything down.
Completely agree with you. Give me something else that you think is going to happen today. What's the big thing?
I think the Cardinals are very active. I think I mentioned Carlson maybe with the Yankees. I think that them and the Blue Jays are locked in a conversation. I wonder if Paul DeJong ends up there, if they're telling us something about Bo Bichette's health. He hurt himself last night.
And the Cardinals should feel the need to sell a little
Flaherty
bit,
will go today. I think some bullpen, maybe DeJong, an outfielder. I think they'll be a very active team. And look, all eyes are on the Mets.
Right.
Just how deep does this go? And I think there's a stronger and stronger feeling that by 6 p.m. today, Justin Verlander will be an ex-Met.
You think so? You think that's happening? Okay.
I've gotten stronger belief than yesterday.
Okay. Here's the top 3 payrolls. I know you know this already, but Mets, Yankees, Padres. Is there a lesson in that?
By the way, the next 2, I think, are what? The Phillies and
Dodgers. So Phillies are 8 over. Right. Dodgers lead their division. Right.
But then, like, the Angels, they're not in it. I think they're 6. Is there a lesson? I think oftentimes it's the lesson that you have preached about on this show since it began, which is if you follow the statistical models, players generally begin to decline. You pick the age, 28, 29, 30, 31. And generally when you're spending money on that kind of group of players.
Right.
And so what you're buying at best is, can you hold on for a while longer? And then no matter how much you spend and say, well, we're willing to deal with the declining years, you do then have to deal with the declining years, and most owners don't want to go, well, just get rid of them and we'll spend some more money, and that will just keep jacking it up. I just think I think the answer is shorter contracts where you spend more, but I think
But I kind of like what the Cubs had, but is this the smart move?
With makeup on, too, by the way.
Maybe. Some days.
Yeah. So I thought it was worthwhile for the Cubs to go because of that division in front of them. Plus, when you look at run differential, they're the one team with a positive run differential in that division. And so they have starting pitching. Their bullpen has been hit and miss a little bit. But why not go for it right now? And again, you're not – Jeimer Candelario didn't break up their farm system in a significant way, so they're measured with what they're doing. But I think it made sense to go for it to try to reward the fans because they're within 3.5 games.
Sam, I like that you said that because, again, in the real world, you're trying to reward the fans on a long-term basis, but sometimes, especially, the fans at Wrigley show up no matter what. You almost want to say, hey, you're still showing up when things are dismal in September. Guess what? How about we don't have a dismal September?
Yeah, they've had enough of them.
Yeah.
In case you hadn't got that memo. See, I think there are 2 reasons they're doing the right thing. One is, like, we seem to think they've played well for 2 weeks. They played well for a lot longer than that. You go back to June 9th when they were 10 games under. Since then, look at their record. They've been one of the best teams in the sport for 44 games, 27 and 17. Only the Braves and the Reds have been better. They've scored the 2nd most runs in the sport since the weather heated up at Wrigley. Only the Braves have scored more. So that's one reason. Second reason is look at their schedule going forward. Okay, they've got a ton of games against bad teams. 21 games left against the White Sox, Royals, Tigers, Rockies, Pirates, and they're 29-15 against teams under 500.
How about the top, Jason? I looked, I was like, Reds, Braves, Blue Jays. There's some tough teams in there.
Oh, I didn't say you don't get to play just bad teams.
Okay, I thought that could.
But a third of their schedule is against bad teams.
They need Marcus Stroman to get it turned around. He had the worst ERA of any pitcher in the month of July. He was a potential trade chip. relationship that's seemingly lost some value. And here's the thing, he may not opt out right now, considering that he has pitched so poorly here in the month of July.
That's a good point. Now, on the other side of things, you mentioned the Cubs and the Mariners are in the same spot as far as being out of the last wild card position, both 3.5 out. And the Mariners make a trade trading away their very reliable closer, Paul Sewald. I'll just throw the numbers. Last 3 years, he's got 171 innings, a 137 OPS plus. That's a 2.88 ERA. Also, just to get into the reliability, 21 for 24 in save opportunities. Last year, he was 20 for 25. Again, 33-year-old guy, turned his career around, reliable. It's kind of like Brad Ziegler, right? I brought up Brad Ziegler a couple of years ago for the Diamondbacks. Just, you don't think he's much of anything. Actually, he's quite good. What fascinates me is that Jerry Dipoto, if you recall, 2 years ago, when the team was overperforming its negative 50 run differential and they were all geared up, they had this great bullpen, he traded away Kendall Graveman. It was like the signature deal of, what are you doing in the real world in real time? So what is he doing here?
So he looks at it and says, okay, I got a guy that's going to throw another 25 innings for the rest of the year. I'm getting a functional player in Josh Rojas, 2 prospects in return. I've got depth in my bullpen. I could put Munoz in the closer's role. Look at the Mets. They lost Edwin Diaz. David Robertson stepped in. And
the bullpen was a disaster.
But David Robertson stepped right into that role.
But then Robertson moves there, and then you lose all the leverage guys that were Robertson.
They've got much better arms in their bullpen to be able to fill those spots.
They did not recover from that loss of Diaz, though.
But no. I mean in Seattle. I'm talking about. They have the ability to do it. And to be able to make
Munoz is lights out. I get. But are they? Anytime you move your big guy, then everybody moves up, and you lose leverage guys to become your big guy.
Let's see what else he does. Maybe he adds another reliever, and he ends up getting 3 prospects for 1, and so you kind of rob Peter to pay Paul, and then you end up bringing in another guy there.
That's what he was thinking.
I don't mind it.
2 years ago, we were saying the same thing about Abraham Toro. Where's Abraham Toro in that Graveman deal? I'm getting all this club control. Again, I like the ruthless GMing, but in the real world, I'm puzzled by this.
Okay, let me explain Jerry Dipoto's deadline philosophy, okay? I don't think he's a buyer. I don't think he's a seller. I think he's a shopper. And this, to him, is Black Friday, okay? This is a huge shopping opportunity and an opportunity to reshape his team. He's watched them for 100 games. They're not what they thought they would be. And so, I mean, Josh Rojas, I think, is just the beginning of a retooling of their offense. They're another team trying to get more athletic. There'll be more today. I'll be shocked if they don't trade Teoscar Hernandez. I'll be shocked if they don't bring in position players who give them a little different feel athletically.
So, now it is puzzling why they are where they are right now. So is it time to cash it in and work for next year, or do you think this Mariners team can win this year?
I think it's time to cash it in. I do. I think the teams in front of them are better than they are.
That's true.
And I look at it, so we look at the Cubs, I'm not convinced anybody's that much better than they are. And so I think it's a little different level of competition between where you're going with it. I think this team has a solid core of young players. They need to find some offense. They need to retool a little bit. But I will say this, that I was a tinkerer as well as a general manager. I always looked to say, if I can make my team 1 game better, then let's do it. But I over-tinkered. I changed the parts too much that it never had the chance to gel. I think he might have a tendency. He could be an over-tinkerer.
Over-tinkerer.
Yeah, it's a new term.
Habitual over-tinkerer. Yes.
Don't you think he can over-tinker a little bit?
I hadn't heard that exact word used before, but that describes it.